Hello, Delaney. Taking a look now at your assignment from week 5. This is your first draft for your part 1 of the final project. So, um, first thing I notice is that you've written yours, appears like you've written yours in APA, but you need to make sure that you center the title page. So all this stuff should be moved to the center. It should all be centered on the page. Your title itself should actually be in bold. And also, I'm asking everybody to try to create with a little bit more of a creative title for your final project in week 7, for of which this will be the first part of it. So the items you have here are correct. You just need to make sure they're centered in the page here, okay? And then this needs to start, the actual paper needs to start on the next page, page 2. And it should also have the title repeated here in bold again. And another thing is you want to make sure you tab in the first line of each paragraph. So yeah, you need to do that for each paragraph. First line needs to be tabbed in. All right, let's see how you did with the actual written material here. Stress affects nearly everyone, and many people fail to notice its influence until it becomes overwhelming. Okay, so you need to include the title here. So in her health education article titled, and then give the title, and then say it's by her. Um, but you do otherwise a good introduction of her, but you got to make sure you put the full title in there as well. All right, culture pressure. It addresses the growing cultural pressure created by technology change, rising responsibilities, and challenges of aging, urging readers to recognize how stress impacts emotional and physical well-being. Okay, so as with many of your peers, I'm not seeing a proper use and application of the exemplar here. So that's going to be basically my biggest thing that I'm going to say is that you need to make sure you go back and redo this whole paper based on the exemplar. I'm going to attach the exemplar right here to your rubric so that you'll be able to bring it up and use it. But you absolutely must use that rubric to fix this and make it look like the rubric does before you add it to the final project. Okay, because you basically are not right. You don't actually have, for one thing, it appears like you are just uh, talking about her article and really just kind of, you're not really stating. Number one, I haven't really seen. You do indicate what the topic is, stress, um, but you don't really. Well, I guess you could say you're touching on the genre by using words like addresses. Um, that kind of indicates that it's maybe a really that's the only thing you say to lend to that. So it needs a little bit more. It needs to be a little bit more clear that that's what she's doing here. So you say addresses. Maybe you in another sentence you might start by saying that she informs or something like that, so that it becomes more clear that it's an informational. That her intended genre is informational, and that of course is what you're going to be doing too. You're going to be informing, but you're also going to be basically arguing whether or not what you should be doing is arguing whether or not her article is good quality, and you're analyzing her article for your own different audience. So you don't really have a clear audience there or purpose or anything because your thesis statement isn't correct. You don't really even have, I don't really even see a thesis statement actually. You just give an example here of what this previous statement meant. So this needs to end with, your introduction needs to end with a solid thesis statement. Uh, like you did, like you created back in week four, and that's what week four. Part of what week four was about was creating your introduction and your thesis statement. So what you really should have been doing here is using what you come up with in week four to introduce this article. I mean, this your paper here. So your audience is not clear. Uh, I'm not really seeing anything. I guess you're alluding a little bit to the culture. Um, and you mentioned the era where daily lives move faster and faster. I guess you are doing that part, so I can give you credit for that. Again, the core idea would come out in the thesis statement, and you don't really have that, so that's not there. Now, the details and evidence over here, that's what I look for in the body paragraphs. So again, you're just really basically just talking about what the article does, but you're not really um, now you do cite something here to back up the point you made, so that's good. You are providing evidence, but do you do that more than the one time here? Yeah, okay, so I can say you're doing that, and you're providing the evidence, but you're not properly citing the evidence. You have a signal phrase like here you say she argues, but here at the end you always have to have a parenthetical instead of parentheses with like a page or paragraph number or something in there. Okay, and also since you're doing this in APA, every time you cite her, you should for an actual source citation, or I mean actually citing her work, like with a quote or something like that. You need to have um, her name and um, the year publication, either in the signal phrase, like yeah. Well, in both cases here, you don't really use her name, so actually the whole thing would be in the parentheses. So what you're missing is parentheses here after the quote. That the parentheses should include the um, author's name, last name. So it will be Pelosi, comma, and then the year that the article was written, which I can't remember if that was 2010 or whatever. But whatever the year was, that would go next, and then a comma, and then a page or paragraph number. So again, look at the exemplar. It shows you how to do all this stuff I'm talking about. Okay, you have to use the exemplar. So you do have some of that. Your communication could be a little bit more clear if you were actually writing it the way it really needs to be written, which is uh, clearly talking about why your audience should care about the article. You do seem to be analyzing it here in the body paragraph. You just don't really let your audience know that's what you're going to be doing in your thesis statement too. So, um, recommends activities. So your body paragraphs actually aren't that bad. It's mainly just that you don't have them cited properly. Um, this, I think, is the conclusion, right? Okay. So if you look at the exemplar, you'll see that basically you should have three body paragraphs, each one talking about the different points that you make in the thesis statement. But obviously, you have to have that thesis statement first and foremost. So again, you're just going to want to fix those the best ability, and then make sure that you use that exemplar. It's the key to doing this properly. Now your references page here should actually say references at the top here in center, and then your entry here should have the second line tabbed in. That's called hanging indent. And you also don't have it properly formatted according to APA here. So you need to make sure you do that as well. So really no citations. So overall, your grade is a mid B range. It's not too bad, although there's going to be a 10% off of that for being late, though. But the big thing is that you're going to need to make sure you revise it and follow the exemplar. So let it show you how to rewrite this. Okay. So that will be it. Just make sure you reach out if you have questions or need help at all. Let me know. And that will do it for this video.